girl was driving down a bumpy road because her parents were going away for 2 weeks and she was going to live with her uncle. When she finally got there, she saw it was this old, messed up looking barn. They got out of the car and her parents greeted her uncle and then, said hello, caught up a little bit, and then they left. And he walked over to the girl smoking a cigar and they chatted a little bit. So her uncle's job was to cut the heads off chickens. And the girl saw her uncle cutting the heads off the chickens, and when he would cut the head off, the body would still run around, and then all of a sudden it would finally collapse. So the girl's watching these chicken bodies run all around, and the heads are getting thrown out right into the garbage. They just get thrown out. That night, they were eating dinner, which was usually chicken, and when they finished eating, the uncle told the girl that there's one rule. You have to sleep through the whole night. You cannot wake up in the middle of the night. You have to stay asleep. Girl thought, okay, that's fine. So that night she was sleeping. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, she heard chickens clucking. Cluck, cluck, cluck. She was so tempted to open her eyes, but she knew the rule. Her uncle said she could. When she finally opened her eyes, she saw chicken heads floating around. Cluck, 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 cluck. It was so scary. She's never seen chicken heads fly around before. She covered her head with the blankets and she hid because she didn't want to watch. And then she fell back asleep, and in the morning she woke up. There was nothing. She felt a little better, and she thought she wanted to tell her uncle, but she knew he told her that she had to sleep through the night and she couldn't wake up, so she thought it was fine. So she went to go watch her uncle work. She stayed there and watched, and she saw giant piles of black garbage bags, and she asked, "What is that?" Her uncle said, "Oh, when I cut the heads off the chickens, I leave them in the garbage bags, and that's where they stay." Then she thought, does my uncle have a wife? So she asked, "Do you have a wife?" And he was caught very off guard, and he said, "No, I have to keep working." She thought that was weird, scared about his wife, but whatever. Later that night, again, the girl was scared to go to sleep. She didn't know what was going to happen. She went to bed. She heard the chicken noises again. Cluck, cluck, cluck. She was so scared. And the second time she woke up, and there were white bloody chicken heads floating all around. Cluck, 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 cluck. And she was so scared. So she covered her head with her blanket and went back to bed. And when she woke up in the morning, there was nothing. Again. It was so weird. Her heart was beating out of her chest. She was so nervous. So she went to look in the barn through the chickens, and it smelled like dead bodies. And she's looking through. She found a drawer, and she was curious, so she opened it, and she found a book. She was looking through the book, and she realized, oh, my uncle did have a wife a long time ago. And as she continued looking, she realized that his wife liked voodoo. Voodoo, like when you have like a doll and you stick pins in it and then it hurts the person and things like that. The wife liked voodoo. And the uncle came in and saw him. He said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Nothing, nothing, nothing." And then she ran out. And then she thought to herself, my uncle's wife liked voodoo, and now she's not alive. It's weird. So she asked the uncle, and he didn't really say anything about it. And that night, when she was asleep, her heart was beating out of her chest. She was so nervous. She didn't want to wake up. She tried so hard to stay asleep. She didn't hear anything. And she thought it was fine, so she went to bed. She didn't hear any chicken noises. But all of a sudden, the bed started shaking. And she didn't want to wake up again, not 3 times. So she went back to bed, and then when she finally did woke up, she was so scared. She saw this white woman covered in chicken feathers and bloody chicken heads coming towards her. And it just kept coming right towards her. These covered in feathers. And she jumped out of bed, she screamed, she ran down the stairs, and this thing is still following her, and she's running. She runs and wakes up her uncle, and uncle wakes up, and she's, what's wrong? And she's like, there's this chicken woman chasing me, and there's this thing following me. And he loaded up his gun, and he went to go see what it was, and he shot at it, and shot at it again. And then all of a sudden the uncle just died. And this chicken woman is still coming at her. So she runs away, and she runs outside, and she sees the barn, and she runs into the barn, and there's a thing still chasing her right on her tail. She runs into the barn, and oh, it smells so gross. And she was looking through to find something that would help, something that the woman had that had to do with voodoo that would help. So she looks, and it just smelled gross, and she found the uncle's wife's dead body. And she realized, wow, the uncle must have killed the wife for liking voodoo, and her spirit stayed and haunted him. And that's why there were chickens at night. So she lit a match, and she set the barn on fire, and she ran outside, and she watched the barn burn, and she realized the chicken woman wasn't gone. She was so relieved to know that the woman was gone. She was happy again. She was gone. She watched the barn burn, and the woman was still there.